Hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the beginning of a new week in the Rev.
Holiday week, no less.
Holiday week, that's correct. Yeah, everybody will be off after today. Yeah, everybody be skating out of their offices. They'll be closing everything down and to celebrate Thanksgiving. But I guess we can start off. You have something that you found a police report?
Yes, from this weekend.
Ah.
Cash reels in a few more. 103 and 128 18th Street have been the subject of recent complaints within the neighborhood, illegal drug activity. The Cash team began investigations into these locations and executed search warrants, resulting in drug seizures and several arrests. Citizens of the neighborhood were outside of these residents clapping and expressing their gratitude for our response and enforcement. We are focused on addressing quality of life issues in our neighborhoods to rid them of this type of activity. These issues may be small to some, but they are a major concern for the citizens living in those areas, and we are doing our best in prioritizing these matters. On Saturday, November 23rd, members of the Community Action and Suppression Team, CAST, Neighborhood Engagement and Enforcement Team, and Housing Unit conducted search warrants at 103 18th Street, Apartment 1R. The target of the search warrant was Jillian Varela. As a result of the search warrant, an amount of crack cocaine and fentanyl was seized from the residence and was placed under arrest and charged with possession of Class A drug subsequent offense and possession of a Class B drug subsequent offense. Simultaneously, they executed a search warrant at 128 18th Street, Apartment 1F. The target of that search warrant was John Texera. As a result of the search warrant, an amount of crack cocaine was seized from the residence. Texera was placed under arrest and charged with possession Class B drug. Tanya Correa and Carlos Lima were located inside of the residence and were placed under arrest for charges of pertaining to active arrest warrants. Melissa McDermott was also inside of the residence and was found to be in possession of Suboxone. McDermott was summoned into court for the charge of possession of a Class B drug. So it seems like community policing is doing something.
And who released that statement? CJ?
The police department.
Well, congratulations to the police department on not only on the arrest, but they do this all the time. But for informing the citizens of Fall River, maybe the new chief has got out a policy. We've never seen this in a long time about these things with information. Right. We don't need specifics, but people like to know. And just for the record, thank you for that. But it also brings the credit that is due to our police officers for doing their jobs.
Correct.
Because people don't understand that. They just think that they're just riding around and they don't understand the danger they're in. We had the same issue. I used to complain all the time that most fires occur at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Most high hazard fires that jeopardize lives, happen when they're not going to get the coverage. And if you do a good job and put it out quickly, it used to not even make the papers. But it was the efforts of the firefighters and police officers doing their job every single day. So it's really, really encouraging to actually see that the community is being informed of the work that they do, because, they're underappreciated for the work that they do. We get plenty of negative press every time a firefighter, police officer, school teacher, anybody with a job gets arrested or gets charged with something. It's all over the front page of the paper. I've always said this. You never see carpenter charged with whatever, plumber charged with whatever. It's Joe Blow charged with this. No, but if they have a job, they are held to a higher standard. But it takes away from the people that are doing their job every single day. So, I mean, they say we're always negative. Call this negative. I'm saying Good job. And I'm glad people are getting to know actually that you did something. And we, like I said, we do not need the specifics of all the intelligence and everything else, but policing does work. We know that. If the community knows that you're going to respond to their complaints, they're going to even be more engaged. So kudos to the police department and everything else. That's very, very good news.
Yeah, and the fact that the neighbors participated in this by filing the complaints, and then when the police acted, they stood there and applauded them and extended their gratitude. Guess what? That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, okay? To protect and to serve.
Yeah.
We've heard that how many times?
Yeah,
okay?
No, absolutely. You're right. And the thing is, they're not doing it for the applause. They're doing it because they as police officers, they're dedicated to their job and they do their job just like every other person. There are bad apples in every barrel, but this only highlights that there are far more good, and these people are not doing it. But it's nice to hear. I can tell you from firsthand experience, it's nice to see, people that see what you do and appreciate what you do. It's not done enough, and it actually enhances our ability to get more cooperation with the police. Of course, the criminals aren't going to cooperate, but the people know that they're doing something, and kudos, like I said, kudos to them. And while we're on this kind of public safety thing, I got a text this morning from someone, friend, who asked me about disposal of flag. He wasn't sure about the disposal of a flag, and flags aren't to be thrown in the trash. They're not to be burned. It's disrespectful. I know the wokies think that's a great thing to do, but it's that is the symbol of our nation. It should be treated with the utmost respect. There is a way to dispose of the flag, and the general public normally. A lot of veterans organizations have a flag disposal box, so they will accept flags. Yeah, no, that happens all the time, Linda. But there is a method to dispose of flags. You can. I actually told him to call the veterans agent. If not, call a few of the local. If not, he could reach back out to me, and I could talk to a few people I know who are.
Well, the other group that does this is the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts once or twice a year have a flag disposal ceremony. They have an actual ceremony that is used to dispose of flags.
It's normally done on Flag Day.
Yes.
It's normally done on Flag Day. Yeah. And there's also flag etiquette. And, while I'm on that, because it irritates me when I see improper flag etiquette. If you buy a flag, read about flag etiquette, how to put a flag at half mast, and et cetera, how to handle a flag. Flag should never touch the ground. And so if you have enough respect for the country to fly the flag, you should handle it properly too. Give it the respect it deserves. Many hundreds of thousands, probably nearly a million, men and women have been buried under that flag. It covered their caskets. The last 13 in Afghanistan were covered by those flags. So it means something. It should mean something. So, with that being said, let's get down to the people who don't care. The insensitive wokies who are always, manipulating facts, and they're still running around with their hair on fire, still threatening to leave, still calling everybody everything and calling everybody names. And, they accuse the Republicans and people who voted for Trump as being stupid, fascists, blah, blah, blah. They're the ones who are, because they can't stand anybody who has a different opinion, and they look at everything through the lens, and they're all delusionary. And it's not just me who thinks that. You'll hear the audio because I know you won't be able to see it's quick. You'll hear the audio, but this is one of the premier liberals, or used to be liberals. I guess they were all, with the new definition of liberal, Bill Maher. This is what he said to his own party and his own people.
You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended, and you can't define woman, person who menstruates. You're the teachers union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but fuck your feelings. Look at this chart. Have you seen my "In this house we believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it. How far-fetched. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much incest, has unfortunately had children who are retarded. You wear Queers for...
That's it. I couldn't have said it better. Did you hear that, CJ?
I heard it.
That's Bill Maher, one of the legal liberals. So
the marijuana smoking liberal.
Yeah, and a real ultra liberal.
Yes, he is.
But he understands that and that's the sad part about it. The Democratic Party won't take their own party back. They won't move more towards center and say, look, you people are just batshit crazy. You're just nuts. We can't let the minority of the party run it. And the mainstream media is part and parcel of this. And you'll never win another major election if you let these delusionary imbeciles speak for your party. Crush them. Clean up your own house. These wokies with millions of dollars that can go live anywhere and are above it, and the other ones who are just, like I said, he said. I couldn't have said it better. Everything they do is just, it's just counterintuitive. It's insane. You can't even. There's no logic to what they say. They contradict themselves. Their actions are completely opposite of what they say. They accuse everybody, like through the lens of everything is through these identity politics things, and this even the media. Now the scum that piece of human refuse that murdered Laken Riley was convicted. And do you know the mainstream media, not one of the mainstream media said he was illegal. And as a matter of fact, I think MSNBC wrote a headline that said, "The murderer never had a chance." Really? This scumbag smashed a nursing student's skull multiple times. And you could hear it on the 911 video. Him smashing her head with a rock. And you pieces of shit have the audacity to say he didn't have a chance? That's why I could never be a police officer. Bless them. Because if I would have arrested him, he would have come into the station looking like Swiss cheese. After I beat him to death. I don't know how they can deal with shit like this. I don't know. And for this is what they got. This is why even Ma is pissed off at him. These people are insane. They're so partisan, they've lost their brain and their soul. They don't care about people being murdered. That stiff that we have for a governor and that loser that's the mayor of Boston wants to protect illegals right after they just arrested 3 illegals for raping children in Boston. You explain to me, CJ, it's all yours. You explain to me how they can justify this type of behavior.
I hear you, and you can't justify it. You really can't justify it. There's no way to justify any of this type of behavior. We saw it during the elections. They talked about the Georgia student who was raped and killed. Remember that? What was her name? Tanya?
Georgia student was Lincoln Riley. That's the one who
that's Lincoln Riley. And they couldn't even say her name. The Democrats couldn't even say her name during the campaign. Refused to say her name. That's not paying respect to anyone. Okay? And the fact that it was an illegal just goes to show that even we have that problem.
Yeah.
We have that problem all the time. It happens all the time. And we get every excuse under the sun why it's happening. Okay? Well, we don't want to scare the public. Oh, we can't speak about it because the investigation's not complete. But it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And the worst part about it is, who does the parties, whether it be Republican or Democrat, need to get elected to office? Who do they need? They need the unenrolled.
Yeah,
they need the unenrolled. They don't have enough members in either party to elect anyone. They don't have enough people in either party to elect anyone. So they need the unenrolled or the independent voter. That's important. The independent voter is important. And if you can't reach them, you can't win an election.
Yeah, and Linda's logic is right on target because listen, CJ, these people pretend they care about the people, and that's what they tried to do. Oh, joy, joy! We're gonna have a campaign of joy, joy, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Inclusion, my ass. You know that not only did they never mention Lincoln Riley by name or anybody else, Jocelyn Nungari, or any of the people who were raped. 13,000 murders in this country, 15,000 rapists. And one of the most heinous examples of why they don't care? Do you know that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris have never made one phone call to the Gold Star families, the parents of the 13 soldiers who were killed in Afghanistan due to their pathetic excuse of a withdrawal?
And don't forget this, while he was receiving the bodies, when they were receiving them, he kept looking at his watch, like he had a hot date. He had a hot date.
But not even mention their names. He's giving out a medal to the head of the abortion movement. So whether you agree or not with abortion, I don't think that should be the first one on a priority list to get some kind of medal. But that's their they think that's their voter base. But again, it shows that they don't care about the people. They never once uttered the names of the people, even when she was asked a direct question in an interview. She couldn't say the name. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. It's amazing. He should have stayed lost in the rainforest in Brazil. But this is the reason that they lost the election. They will continue to lose the elections because people have finally realized that they're con artists. And the sad part about it is they're all not like that. And some of them are beginning to grow a set. That Moulton is beginning to start speaking out. These moderate Democrats are realizing they're going to lose their seats as a reaction to what these radicals are doing. And as we said, radicalism in any direction is no good. Radical Muslims are no good. Radical Christians are no good. That makes white supremacy, but whatever. Radicalism is not good because it's distorted. You know, and the key is that this is the minority of the Democratic Party, but they got no cojones. They won't tell them to shut up. You want to shut up? You're going to get elected in your Muslim district, Ilhan Omar. And Rashida Tlaib. You're going to get elected no matter how ridiculous you run your mouth. Because you got a bunch of loonies in your district. Even AOC's getting worried. She took her pronouns down. But it's not up to the independents, as you say, who now really are going to control all these elections going forward. But it's up to them to correct their own party. It's not up to people. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I've been an independent my entire life. But it's up to them to fix their own party. You know, they should take a little bit of the Hippocratic oath, CJ. Do you guys have to take something like that? Do no harm.
Yes, we do.
Do no harm to your own party. Go down there, take a take a wiffle bat to somebody's head up there. Tell them to shut up and go away. They are a minority of the party. You're going to tell me that the wackos are the majority of the Democratic Party, and if you can make that argument with me and make it stick, then I'll say, good, I'm glad you're right, because they'll never win another election, ever. Well, you're reading something, Steve.
Yes, I was. Because you had said you took an oath or something, and I did. It's called the Florence Nightingale Pledge. Florence Nightingale was the mother of nursing.
Yes.
And it's a very, if you've never seen a nursing pinning ceremony, you miss out on a lot. Shamefully, Bristol Community College has done away with that. They've done away with it. Okay? They've done away with uniforms. I mean, when I went to nursing school, all the men wore black shoes, white pants, black belt, white shirt, black tie. That's what they wore. All the females wore a white skirt, white shirt, white cap, and then when they graduated, they got a band that was put over their cap. That's what the ceremony was like. Now we just throw everyone in scrubs so nobody knows who the hell anyone is. It gets to be ridiculous.
Well, it also demeans, that achievement because it means something. And because it's just like our military. Now they're all panicking because of Hegseth becoming the Secretary of Defense because he's a combat vet. He says that we need war fighters in the military. And that's the problem. This manure about there are no safe spaces or pronouns in combat zones. You win wars by having a military that's combat ready, is fit, and can fight. And this baloney about having, we've got to make sure our pronouns are correct. They've destroyed our military. They've admitted now that they did a study because China's army has grown so great that in every exercise they conducted on paper, we're losing to China. Why? Because 77% of the people in this country cannot even qualify to go in the military if they wanted to. They're overweight, out of shape. Why did we win World War II? The greatest generation. Why were they the world's greatest generation? Half of them didn't have a pot to piss in. They survived the Depression. When they were growing up, there was a depression going on. It made them tough. They had to go without food. They had a tough life. But as they say, the greatest captains are the ones who experience the greatest storms. It made them into tough people. The people who settled this country and went across the United States in Conestoga wagons and fought off Indians and survived. Some of them didn't. A lot of them didn't. But the men who fought World War II and the women who supported them out there in the nursing fields and everything else, they were hard men. They were hard because they grew up hard. It wasn't spare the pronoun and have the child have a nervous breakdown. It was spare the rod, spoil the child. They grew up hard, but it made them hard men. And because of those hard men, they saved the world. The Nazis had driven the English off the continent of Europe. If you study your history, you might learn that. They pushed them right off. They were rescuing them in rowboats in the English Channel. The British Army got pushed right off the continent. Germany was poised to control the world, and America got in the war. And there were other allies, but the American forces were the spearhead. They were the tip of the spear. These men fought because they were able to fight. They didn't curl up in a foxhole and start whining because the pronoun was wrong, because they couldn't get a timeout. And this is the delusionary people that Bill Maher was talking about. These people are nuts. You got to wear a mask 2 years after COVID, 3 years after COVID. You got to worry about somebody's pronoun. And in the military, listen, you want to worry about somebody's pronouns in your house, that's fine. But you don't have an army that we have to spend hundreds of billions of dollars to support, and the Pentagon loses half the money and can't account for it, to have a bunch of wimps and snowflakes in the military. The military's job is to do one thing: not parade for dignitaries, to fight wars. That's why you have them. They're just like insurance policies. You have to have one. If you don't have one and your house burns down, you're screwed. If you get into an accident and your car gets totaled and you don't have insurance, you're screwed. You're screwed on a premium later on anyway, but that's another thing. That's an insurance problem. But a military is your insurance policy for the safety of your nation. And you have to have professional military people. You have to have people who are able to fight. And if you don't, if we didn't have a generation that lived through one of America's direst times, hard men, we'd be speaking German right now. And with that, CJ, back to you.
I love it. I love it. Linda brought up a good point on the Trump 2024 campaign. The ad, Kamala is for they and them. Trump is for you.
That's right. That was one of his campaign ads.
Yes, it was. And, and as you said, when politicians are removing pronouns from their letterhead, from their stationery, from their emails, it says something. When I get an email from a state employee, a state representative, a state senator, even the governor's office, and they put a pronoun on it, I want to reach through the email, or reach right through the screen and strangle them. Okay, I really do, because that's not what you're being paid for. That's not what you're being paid for. But because we have a governor that's DEI all the way through, we can't do anything about it. Although she has made a change into the emergency housing, which we talked about last week, and now they're saying, how much money will it save? None.
That's the government.
They're doing it.
The government always runs in a negative.
Yeah.
I told you I worked for the federal government when I first got out, and if they don't spend every single dime they get, they cut their budget. The only way they can expand their budget is spend all their money, whether they need to or not. It's kind of like Fall River. I heard somebody talking about their water bill, saying, I don't know why my water bill went up. He said, because I didn't use anywhere near the amount of water. I said, because I already told you, even if you don't use any water, your bill's going up.
That's right.
It's like, this is what they do. And they're going to continue to do it until we do in Fall River what they did on a national level. Kick them out. Kick them out. You got to get rid of it. I mean, Paul Coogan is he's the mini Biden. He just can't stop spending money. Joe Biden goes, we got the greatest national debt in history. It's paying $1 billion a month just for the interest, or $1 trillion a month just for the interest. And so let's spend more money. Let's give somebody, let's have more giveaways. And this is what Coogan does. We're broke. We're scratching for pennies and nickels, but keep giving out. Keep creating new jobs, giving out massive pay raises just so you can get a couple of votes, and don't worry about what's going to happen to the citizens of Fall River when this city goes into receivership, because you'll be gone. You'll be living somewhere else, and I guarantee it. You will not be living in that Bobby townhouse on the corner of Williamson and Oak Grove Avenue. Just in case you don't know where he lives, I just told you. Okay? So he will be living in that little tiny house like this big with all the money he's got. So you only buy one of those houses as a starter house if you're a young couple, because then you're going to dump it as soon as you start making money. Well, Paul's got a lot of money in his pocket, so he's not staying in that when he's no longer man.
$250,000 a year.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Between his pension and his mayoral salary.
Well, he can live off his pension. He can bank the whole thing, and you're not going to tell me all his banker friends, lawyer friends, developer friends haven't turned him on to some nice investments. So when he leaves this office, the horrifying perspective of him getting a fourth term, he will have made nearly $1 million just in salary that he could have just stuck in a bank.
That's right.
He can live on, because he's got a nice fat pension.
Yes, he does.
And I don't think he ever had any children. No children. His wife works. They've had it pretty easy. And he always had a pretty good job. Got a pretty good job as he had a vice principal. He made a pretty big salary. I think it was 6 figures by the time he got out of there. It was well into the 6 figures. And in Fall River, that's a lot of cabbage. That's a lot of cabbage. But but he's, like I said, he's just like that's why he gets along so good with Jakey, because they're typical Democrats. All they know how to do is create jobs for their friends and throw money at everything. And screw the debt we're getting into, because it won't affect us. We won't even be around here. We'll move somewhere.
I hear you. That's for sure. And he is so conceited. He firmly believes that no matter who runs against him, he's going to win. And he might be right, because the people that support him are blind. They're blind to what he does. They're blind to what he's doing. They think he's making Fall River a better place. Nah. Yet we're displacing more people and making them homeless.
I got to disagree with you on that one, CJ. They're not blind. They know exactly what he's doing, but they're the people who got the jobs.
That's right.
They're making money. It's like Joe and Kamala saying the border's closed. There's no crime. Inflation is down. Yeah, inflation's down from the highest point, but it's still higher than it was before, and it's still being out. It outpaces the income increases. So their economic impact on this country has been catastrophic in their 4 years. But they spin everything, hoping they can convince the people. And the sad reality, you're right. Coogan could win again if we get 12,000 people or 14,000 people in here to vote. What we have to do in the next election is do exactly what they did in this election. Get people to the polls. Get some quality candidates to run, saying we're going to work for the people. But you're not going to look. These people are not. The people that follow him. They're not looking for apartments. And that's it. It's always does. This is why we always, CJ and I told a few people that's supposed to be political pundits that forget about Vote Builder. Vote Builder only shows you most of the ticks who turn out. So right. You're going to waste your paper sending them any. And the Democrats learned that on a national level. Remember how great they were saying how, and I love it because we had one candidate we talked to that loved the Democratic strategies. He was always talking about that. CJ, you remember that at a few meetings we had. And they were talking about James Carville, and they were talking about, we knocked on 40,000 doors. We did 70 zillion push cards. We did this. Nobody gives a shit about that. You knock on a door, the guy goes, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. Yeah. When you walk out, he goes back and goes, that'll be the freaking day. I'm not voting for that idiot. And they don't care. It's the people who are being squeezed by their shit policies. And you're right, Linda. They have to come out. And that's what happened on a national stage. People came out, even Hispanics. Like I said, he had the greatest inroads and the greatest diversity in history. Even in blood red states, he carried. Now, the dark navy blue states, he pumped them up everywhere. He got like an 11-point bump in New Jersey, which is like an impossibility. He did well in Manhattan, and he did down in Texas. He took counties that had never in history voted Republican. So it's not about the believing the bullshit. It's about getting the people out who can see through the bullshit. They're the people that are paying $8 for eggs. They're the people that can't afford the rent. And they got to do something about it. They got to get their butts to the polls and vote. That's what has to happen. Because this guy doesn't care. And all the people who vote for him don't care. I mean, he's getting more and more blatant as he's stating, like you said. He thinks he's a king now. He's like Joe. The anointed one. Well, yeah, 12,000 people. His vote total has gone down since then. He doesn't get a lot of votes, but not a lot of people turn out. Gets enough to get elected against candidates who don't run a campaign targeted at the people who normally don't vote. They don't know how to run a campaign. But, I mean, this guy's blatant. Look what he did with the fifth member of the retirement board. They violated the law. They violated the CMRs. They violated the statute. Their fiduciary obligation was solely to the retirement system, and they just voted no, which is strictly prohibited. It says it right in the CMR. They did that, and they let it go. Then they had the audacity to go in front of the council and try to bullshit their way through, because then they wouldn't let you speak. I almost got thrown out for the first time in history. But that's just blatant disregard for the system. The fifth member is supposed to be a neutral member. He doesn't want a neutral member. Just like he threw everybody on every board that ever opposed him out. That is not a mayor. That is a dictator. That is not a mayor who cares about being a representative of the people, or as you like to say, democracy, but technically isn't democracy. It's a constitutional republic. That is a fascist dictator. Right, see?
No question about it. And we see how he's demonized and destroyed all our boards. Just look at the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals. Every single thing that comes before them from a developer that wants to make market rate housing gets their variance, gets their parking changed, gets everything they want without even trying. They barely have to open their mouths, and already the board's approving it. And it's always the same attorneys representing these people. Always the same attorneys. On occasion, we get one that we haven't seen in a while, but for the most part, it's the same attorneys, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's a money maker any way you look at it. Okay, and I don't care if it's a campaign contribution to your political campaign, or it's money given to you in your pocket. It's bribery. It's bribery. Like it or not, it's bribery. So in one way or another, you might say Paul is no better than Jazel. The only difference is Paul's sneaky about it.
Well, the only difference is, the major difference to me is that Jazel stole from rich guys who could afford to give him money, and he conned them, and he leveraged them, because if you didn't have the money, you couldn't get what you wanted, but he also didn't penalize you. But Paul steals from the taxpayers of the city of Fall River.
That's right.
He puts the burden on us, and that is what is so patently disgusting, because he doesn't give a shit about the people of Fall River. He's made it clear that he looks down on anybody who lives in public housing, anybody who doesn't own a home. He's got all these, and he's very condescending, like he told the guy who had the bullet hole in his house. Be gone, serf. Yo, you got a bullet hole in your house? What are you saying? Everybody's got a bullet hole in your house? You cocky little son of a bitch. What you need is to be back in the old neighborhood where somebody bitch slap you upside the head when you talk to them like that. That's what you need.
Oh, times
So
they are.
that's what they all need, because that's exactly what the hell they are. They're condescending assholes because they think they have power over you. And unfortunately, when they can manipulate the law and are allowed to do it, and the voters don't throw their ass out, they do have power over us.
That's right.
They do have
because
power.
we give it to them.
That's right.
We to them.
Not we per se, but we have to. But unfortunately, we have to live in this constitutional republic. If we get outvoted, we've got to sit down and grin and bear the shit government that we got, because the other lazy people won't go out and vote and get rid of them like they finally did on a national level. Therein lies the problem, because you look at what he's done on so many fronts, just throwing money out, basically saying, I don't care. Look what he did with that one budget when he didn't even allow the council to weigh in, manipulated the law, manipulates every law to his favor, and he just ignores everything he wants to do and says, hey, tough luck. I can do it, and I'm going to do it. And he can. That's the sad part about it. But we don't have to like it, and we can call them out. But it's up to the 40 other. Remember, what do you have? 49,000 this election?
I think so.
Which is like nearly triple what we quadruple what we have normally in these elections. So if we can get 60,000 out in the next election, or 40,000 out, Paul will be gone. I guarantee you that. If these people who campaign, if you want to run for council, if you want to run for school committee, if you want to run for mayor, start knocking on doors. Start putting yourself out there now, and as soon as the weather breaks, start campaigning. Bring the message to the people the way Donald brought his message to the people. What did Trump do? He went to the Bronx, where it's navy blue. He walked into the barber shop. He didn't discount everybody. He said, "You're all Americans, and I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you why you should vote for me." And it worked. He didn't win them all, but he got a hell of a lot more votes in every area that no Republican. It was like Star Trek. There where no man had ever gone before. Yeah. So, but this is what the people who want to run for election have to do. You have to introduce yourself to the people. You have to get these people pissed off enough to vote like they did on a national level. If we can get 49,000 people out that vote for Donald Trump, we can get 49,000 people out to throw all these bums out.
Otherwise, you get a government like this.
Great picture. Nice call, CJ. There you go. And which board was that one?
That's the Housing Authority Board.
What housing? We ain't got no problem in housing, like Paul says. We've done enough. Oh, really? We've done enough. When they count housing that isn't affordable housing, it's public housing. And he still pretends. This is why I always disagree with people who say they don't understand. No, they do. They understand perfectly what they're doing. But all they're doing is what Democrats do best. Manipulate the narrative to fit their delusion.
That's right. And they make the numbers fit their story. That's what they do. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. As I published earlier, you may have noticed we are having some difficulties with Facebook and the notifications. When we schedule our show, it usually puts a notification and puts us on the calendar. It hasn't put us on the calendar, so people don't get a message that the show is coming up. When the show airs, they get a message, but they don't get it beforehand. So I want you all to remember that. Hopefully the problem will be fixed shortly. We're working on it with StreamYard, and we're working on it with Facebook. So hopefully we'll have it done. We'll see you on Wednesday. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And if you're leaving now for your holiday weekend, enjoy your holiday weekend. Thanks for watching.